There are some things we've all come to expect from video games. Levels, items, puzzles, and bosses. Big, beautiful, badass boss battles. Ever since this game, bosses have presented huge spectacles of combat that test the player's wit and strength. And this ain't no list of specific battles from specific games, but recurring rivals and longtime villains who've had their digital asses kicked in a variety of battles. Appearance, backstory, scope, impact, popularity, likability, and of course, difficulty are all factors that shape this list, along with an unavoidable as ever smidgen of personal taste. I'm Nintendo Man, and these are the Dopest Bosses. And in this corner, weighing in at a mighty 8 megabytes, going up against Little Mac in the original NES Punch-Out, remembered for better or worse as one of the most frustratingly difficult bosses in gaming with the added novelty of being based on a real person.
I think that's a good idea.
Is the Iron, the Kid Dynamite, the baddest man on the planet, pre-face tattoo, Mike Tyson!
You got knocked the fuck out, man!
The cute and cuddly Kirby series has some of the creepiest villains, of which everyone thinks Meta Knight is the coolest. I also believe that, until I met Marx. The Cosmic Jester is the main antagonist of Kirby Superstar, where he manipulates Kirby and Milky Way wishes in a plot to become ruler of Popstar. He transforms into a fearsome bat-like creature with a strange anatomy and even stranger powers that bend the laws of physics. People say the Koopalings are boring and overused, but I love them all so much that I made a whole video basically saying,
man, fuck them studies!
The moves, the mohawks, and the musicians they're based on. But they all have their own colorful designs and personalities that I have cherished ever since I was a little Koopaling. God of War naturally features a pantheon of epic boss fights pitting Kratos against every deity in ancient mythology. But the clash with this titan blows them all away.
The murderer of Gaia enters my tomb. Kronos!
The God of Time is
Big, scary, and big!
so big that the fight basically plays out like a level. So big that zombies emerge from his pores. So big that he could literally squish Kratos like a bug between his fingers, if Kratos wasn't able to climb, fight, get eaten, escape, and stab him through his jaw.
That's a huge bitch!
I'm sure I'll see you very soon.
I was hesitant to include this, because it's not a character originating from a video game, but a movie tie-in to Ridley Scott's Alien. But Alien Isolation is one of the best and scariest games of hide-and-seek I ever played. And the main reason is the highly advanced artificial intelligence of this fucking thing. The Xenomorph and its game are not for the faint of heart. Cuphead has no shortage of fun, colorful bosses that can all go fuck themselves. The indie throwback to classic cartoons is a boss rush notorious for its extreme difficulty, and the one I liked most despite how much trouble it gave me was King Dice. Before his own blackjack-based battle, he deals smaller battles against his 9 casino-themed minions. Drinks, chips, and decks of cards, dominoes, and used cigars. The Devil's Right-Hand Man also has a larger role in the story as the gatekeeper between overworlds. Banjo-Kazooie is weirdly deficient of boss fights. Except for
this box.
And after a game trivia quiz show and a fake-out credit roll, it seemed like there really wasn't going to be a showdown with the wicked Wiccan responsible for the game's conflict. Atop her keep, the bear and bird break out every move Bottles taught them and capped it off by summoning the mighty Ginginator, which buried her beneath an impromptu gravestone. Banjo-Tooie, on the other hand, did have some pretty bitchin' boss fights, as well as a finale that utilizes every move Jam Jars taught them against the Hag 1, commandeered by the zombified Grunty. But still, that first fight just buries the rest. Much like Cuphead, Hollow Knight is also full of amazing bosses that can all go die in a fire. The mysterious traveling circus is enslaved to the ritual of the Nightmare Realm. When the knight summons them by lighting the Nightmare Lantern, they ominously set up camp at the foot of Dirtmouth. What the cloaked ringleader offers is a spooky vampiric design, an entire side quest, and a stimulating battle overshadowed by its nightmarish dream alternate. If our little knight overcomes, his reward is the fully evolved Grimchild charm, which takes up just 2 notches and has this cute little mini-Grim float around him and attack enemies. Grim is one of those things I love so much that I got a little plush of him. There is a reason why King K. Rool was the top requested Smash fighter. Donkey Kong Country was a big deal, and many people like me who grew up in Nintendo's heyday know Donkey Kong's arch nemesis as well as they know Mario's. Those regal scales, that golden armored belly, and that bulging veiny eye. The crazy Kremling is always after the Kong's banana horde for some reason, and often outright Kong-naps the monkeys themselves. His 3 amazing side-scrolling battles all have 3 phases which are then further divided into 3 sub-phases, and all play on his various personas of king, pirate, and mad scientist. His 4th and final appearance molded him into a boxer, and broke into one phase for all 5 Kongs. What they all have in common is careful timing and precision, and that signature rare humor and charm. Thanks to Smash, the king is back. Let's hope he's here to stay. Ridley is just plain fucking cool. The space dragon is aesthetically awesome and far more hyper-intelligent than it looks. Named after the director whose film inspired the game he's the villain of, Ridley is the leader of the Space Pirates, a race of intelligent reptilians who seek to conquer the galaxy by weaponizing the titular parasites, Metroids. In the 2D games, Samus must dodge his numerous attacks and unload her entire arsenal to slay the beast. In Metroid Prime, the fight with Meta Ridley truly captures how epic and intricate a battle with him in a real 3D space would be. And just like K. Rool, his underrated awesomeness was finally immortalized in Smash Bros.
Father.
Well met, my son. It's been a long time.
Here is something that most video games have to naturally do, but so few get it so right. How do you justify a villain who keeps returning after being defeated many times?
Most likely a douchebag vampire wannabe boner.
Count Dracula possesses a recurring array of supernatural powers, but what makes him most compelling is his backstory. Originally a human named Matthias Kronkvist, the death of his first wife Elizabeth drove him mad enough to declare war against God, and become a vampire by betraying the first in a long line of enemies, the Belmonts.
Die, monster! You don't belong in this world!
But the Count's disdain for humans stems from the witch trial execution of his second human wife, Lisa.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
This, coupled with the inscrutable fact that Symphony of the Night is the best entry in the whole damned series, makes the most satisfying battle with him not with a Belmont, but with their own son, Alucard.
Lisa, forgive me? Farewell, my son!
Alright, Count Fagula.
Officers Eddie Pulaski and Frank Tenpenny.
Carl, you motherfucking piece of shit.
You got a bag over your head, boy. How you feel about that?
Man, take it off. Please, man. I can't breathe. Please.
Passenger, show us your hand.
You make a lot of overlapping friends and enemies in the course of any GTA title.
Catch you later, homeboys.
But neither Salvatore Leone nor Lance Vance Dance come close to the corrupt cunts of the Crash Syndicate.
We own you. You're ours. We can shit on you from such a height, you'll think God himself is crapped on you.
Modeled after the true story of the Rampart police scandal,
As an officer in charge of putting an end to gang violence, I find myself in a difficult moral position.
the organization consists of crooked cops and gangsters spread across a variety of missions
What the hell would you know about it, boy?
that coerce CJ into burning a project, planting evidence, and murdering everyone from journalists to Russians to his own backstabbing homies.
We just like family, homie.
This ain't about keeping some fucking bag.
And the final showdown is one of the greatest missions in the whole series.
I took the trash out. I did.
Oh, Carl, try not to kill any more respected police officers.
Just doing my part for the community. See you around, officer.
As if fighting one boss in Dark Souls isn't hard enough, fighting two at the same time? Ornstein was a dragon slayer and the chief knight serving the final boss god, Gwyn. He's fast on his feet and his attacks are spiced with electricity. Smog was an executioner for Honor Londo, who loved his job a little bit too much, turning into a cannibal who ate the bones of his clients. His attacks are centered around his giant fucking hammer and self. The tougher strategy of killing Smog first will net you Ornstein's drops, while the alternative will be easier but less rewarding. Although beating them regardless is rewarding nonetheless. We all know the saying, the Dark Souls of blank, as in Hollow Knight is the Dark Souls of Metroidvanias. Well, Ornstein and Smog are the Dark Souls of Dark Souls bosses. BioShock is a game full of haunting yet dazzling eye candy. From the steampunk submarine city of Rapture to the grisly mechanic of self-enhancement. So it speaks volumes when the first image that most minds conjure up when thinking about this series is this big baddie. Men who have far exceeded their capacity for Adam have their bodies grafted to giant armored scuba suits and monstrous weapons like drills, lasers, and rocket launchers. They wander the city of Rapture guarding little sisters, the young girls who harvest Adam from corpses. It takes a shitload of both Adam and ammo to take them down, and then you can choose to rescue the corrupted girl for some Adam, or lethally harvest her for more.
You saved me.
As your body count goes up, it starts to feel like they're less of a boss and more of a super tough enemy like the Lynels from Breath of the Wild, but they've been described as a cornerstone of the game due to the importance of Adam, and few bosses are as intimidating just by the sound they make when approaching.
Stars.
Resident Evil 3 takes Jill Valentine through the devastated streets of Raccoon City. Jill tries to savor the set pieces and level design of the most open world Resident Evil ever made, but she can't, because Nemesis was tasked with assassinating the STARS members for uncovering their secrets. There are various story beats he appears in, but he can also just pop in randomly anywhere, anytime, and that is fucking terrifying to this day, especially with the remake. This guy's basically the Terminator of video games. Nemesis is no doubt a nuisance, but an effective one, and likely the most iconic video game stalker juggernaut.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
The Master Hand is a mystery wrapped in a riddle dipped in a vat of enigma juice. No matter which entry or fighter, every run of Classic Mode is cadenced by the same showdown. No items on Final Destination with the Master Hand. A massive disembodied glove with more moves than James Brown. Depending on the difficulty, he is sometimes joined by his brother, Crazy Hand, and wields an even more volatile moveset of gestures. And it was in the adventure mode of the ultimate entry that his story was finally fleshed out. The Master Hand checks all boxes. It's a compelling idea, there's a reason behind it, and it makes for a challenging and stimulating boss fight. And in a game whose very purpose is to bring together characters from other games, it's nice to have one hail from and represent Smash itself. Gen 2 of Pokemon is a direct sequel to Gen 1, coming out and taking place 3 years later. After beating the Elite Four, you can explore the original Kanto region, win the original 8 badges, and battle the 2 former characters. The rival, Blue, has since replaced Giovanni as Viridian Gym Leader, but it's the climactic final battle with your former avatar, Red, that really hits home. He's mentioned as early as Azalea Town, but neither Professor Oak nor his own mother knows that he waits atop Mount Silver for a worthy opponent. I will never forget that feeling of first seeing him and realizing,
I was looking for me all the time!
It's really kind of eerie. He doesn't speak, but rather lets his team speak for itself, all leveled in the high 70s. And after his defeat, he disappears without a word. That encounter will always be the most memorable battle of the whole series for me. It's not just the challenge that weighs heavy, it's the fact that you're facing off with your former self. Usually you have to grow into an adult to develop nostalgia for your childhood, but that was the one time I ever felt nostalgic as a child. For the first half of Chrono Trigger, you're led to believe that Magus is the main villain, but it's climactically revealed that you share a common enemy. That enemy is Lavos, an alien parasite that crash-landed on Earth in the year 65 million BC in order to use the planet's life energy to produce genetically enhanced spawn that would continue the cycle on other planets throughout the universe. Some of these life forms would foment a resistance, traveling millions of years through time until facing him in 1999 AD. Lavos, which is directly translated to Big Fire from Isla's language, has 3 forms: a huge dome-like shell, a humanoid form inside, and a core consisting of a smaller humanoid form orbited by 2 strange satellites. Each phase is slightly different and increasingly epic and trippy, but to JPEG noobs like me, they all have one thing in common. Between Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy, Square Enix may be the most important storytellers in gaming. The story of Sephiroth cannot be summarized like other bosses on this list, and I wouldn't want to spoil anything even though that's the nature of lists like these.
Sephiroth, the war hero? I know he died in an accident 5 years ago.
His tortured past at the hands of Shinra may explain his surly disposition, but it surely doesn't excuse it. This dude is stone cold evil. A whole party is still no match for him. And though each of those battles are grand, that final metaphysical showdown with Cloud is just another reason why Sephiroth is so dope despite being so damn evil.
That which lies ahead does not yet exist.
I'm Psycho Mantis!
From a small Russian village was a man born with psychic powers. However, his telepathy was too strong to control, driving him insane and forcing him to hide his deformed face behind a gas mask so that the minds of others would not enter his.
I can read people's minds. In my lifetime, I have read the pasts, presents, and futures of thousands upon thousands of men and women.
As he developed a disdain for humanity, his life path took him from the Phantom Pain incident to the KGB to the FBI, and then to Foxhound, with whom he grew tired of working for governments and launched an insurrection on Shadow Moses Island.
I can read your every thought.
He would go on to make a spiritual appearance in Guns of the Patriot, but it's that middle role in the original Metal Gear Solid that is one of the wildest and famous boss battles ever.
Every living thing on this planet exists to mindlessly pass on their DNA. We're designed that way. And that's why there is war.
Imagine seeing this thing in real life. A humanoid monster garbed in a bloody butcher's robe, donning the most obscure helmet, and dragging a comically large kitchen knife. Each encounter with Pyramid Head is memorable and terrifying. He introduces himself behind bars, ominously staring, just making his presence known. And then he's witnessed raping a mannequin. Pyramid Head symbolizes James Sunderland's feelings of guilt and a desire for punishment for his repressed crime of modeled after the town's ancient executioners, who James presumably saw in the painting at the Historical Society when vacationing in the town with. He exists for the sole purpose of forcing James to remember and face his actions. He turns out to be not the villain of the story, but a sick twist on the guardian angel trying to point James in the right direction. Silent Hill purists will tell you that Pyramid's Head role extends no further than Silent Hill 2.
And you're right.
But I will also admit that although unintentional, he has still become the mascot of the series. Ultimate boss rush. Shadow of the Colossus is about a man trying to wake up his lady friend by traveling the land on horseback and slaying 16 colossi. Each one is a puzzling spectacle, but that last one, that final colossus, is something to truly behold. It's as tall and still as a skyscraper that can shoot magic missiles. After running through underground tunnels to emerge at its feet, Wander's gotta climb the fuck. The first part's easy. His legs are practically a building. After hitting the first weak spot at the small of his back, he latches onto his furry hand while trying to avoid being detected and crushed. Find a window to shoot an arrow at the second weak spot near his shoulder and make the jump when he goes to clutch it. Strike it and climb to the head where he stabs his skull and holds on for dear life. And like all the other colossi, you end up feeling bad for this one, because while it is the game's objective to destroy them, it almost seems like you're the bad guy, invading this big, beautiful land and just killing these peaceful giants that don't really pose any threat to anyone. The most lovable villain of all time. Mario's adversary is as legendary as Mario himself, harkening back to the very first Mario game and always returning for more. No matter how many times we face him, each one is different and memorable. The famous bridge axe, the throne room, the Koopa clown car, all 364 showdowns, slimy hot tub, center of the universe, and an arranged marriage. And that's not even including all the spin-offs. His battles are usually prefaced with a difficult level of his castle, and followed by the end of the game. His own abilities include fire breath, massive strength, and commanding an army of classic Mario baddies. Nintendo has a lot of reptilian villains, but Bowser is the most recognizable. Not only because of his opposition to their mascot, but because he combines the coolness of Ridley with the accessibility of K. Rool. Artistically speaking, Bowser is one of the sickest designs ever animated. And yet, as far as villains go, Bowser is in his own way so charming and quirky that it's hard to root against him. Honestly, he's not even that bad a guy. He doesn't want to hurt Peach, he's just in love with her. The Koopa King may never realize his dream of kidnapping the princess and conquering the Mushroom Kingdom, but thankfully for us gamers, he'll never stop trying. Extraterrestrial, incomprehensible, literal embodiment of bad vibes. Gygus was an alien who was raised by a human couple named George and Maria after they were abducted in the early 1900s. He imprinted hard on Maria, who treated him like her own son. But when George began conducting painful experiments on the young alien to learn his race's psychic psi powers, they were cut off and sent back to Earth. Gygus was then forced to suppress his love for his mother figure and invade the Earth 80 years later, in the events of the first Mother game. His invasion is quashed by George and Maria's great-grandson, Ninten, and his two companions. The battle itself is the difficult culmination of the series' Dragon Quest-style combat with the common RPG trope of the twist mechanic, and sing the lullaby Maria used to sing to him. Gygus becomes distraught and overwhelmed by the memories of Maria and retreats, promising to return. It is then in the middle game that he assumes his infamous and indecipherable form. Throughout the game known as the War Against Gygus, he is alluded to as the embodiment of evil and universal cosmic destroyer. It is only when Ness and friends relinquish their mortal coils and travel to the distant past that they discover the true nature of their foe. Climbing up a pulsating hill of intestines to confront an inexplicable pile of machinery, Porky Minch introduces Gygus, whose power has become so tremendous and being so formless that it must be contained and unleashed. And what follows is the most unsettling and metaphorical boss fight of all time. Gygus is unlike anything the human imagination has ever produced. Is he an alien?
Yes.
A force of nature?
Yes.
An elaborate wall of symbolism?
Yes.
The only person who knows the big answer is Itoi. We may never know what Gygus truly is. And along with an adrenaline-pumping, skin-crawling, multi-layered boss battle to cap off a work of gaming art, that mystery is what makes him one of the dopest bosses
in the cataloged universe.
The Gerudo are a tribe of desert-dwelling women to whom a male is born every 100 years. That male is destined to be king, and due to the reincarnating hatred of Demon King Demise, one of those males is destined to be Ganondorf. Born to Kume and Kotake, he grows up to become the King of Thieves. His ambition to rule Hyrule leads him to the Sacred Realm where he claims the Triforce, causing it to split in 3. Within 7 years, he becomes the tyrannical king of Hyrule, until the Hero of Time defeats him in the first chronological battle. He uses the Triforce of Power to transform into his ultimate self, a reflection of his lust for power, the evil pig wizard, Ganon. And from here, there are 3 outcomes of the Zelda timeline. One in which he defeats the Hero of Time and repeatedly terrorizes Hyrule as Ganon. One where he is banished to a parallel world after a botched execution only to die on his feet trying to conquer both. And one where Hyrule is flooded and we're treated to his richest character development as he turns to stone trying to live in the past. And thousands of years into a hotly debated branch of the timeline, Ganondorf has lost any physical form and is reduced to a swirling mass of purple clouds, simply feared as Calamity Ganon. The 3-phase battle is pretty anticlimactic, but something tells me it's just an appetizer. Ganondorf might not be as famous as Bowser, mysterious as Gygus, symbolic as Pyramid Head, or difficult as anything from Dark Souls or Hollow Knight or Cuphead, but he is all of those things to his own degree, and his recognition amongst gamers cannot be understated. It's his overarching story, intimidating design, threatening nature, spectacular showdowns, and legendary status that makes Ganondorf the dopest boss of all time. A good villain can sometimes be cooler than the hero, and big bads are just so damn good. So hit the like button, sub to the channel, and let me know in the comments what boss makes you feel all like...
best boss I ever had.